For the people who don't know about this, the Tapestry is a series of 41 panels depicting the history of Villaneuva, done by 36 stitchers. And it had a very unusual start. I think when the women started, and female stitchers, when the women started, I don't think they had any idea of the significance of this project. Back in the early 70s, a Chilean woman who was then living in Indiana, received a grant to teach colcha. She conducted 6 workshops in the state of New Mexico, and Villaneuva was one of those 6 workshops. Well, a group of women in the town participated and found that not only did they really love learning about how to do colcha, but also they liked the idea of coming together and having a sense of community. So when the workshop was over, the priest at the time, who was Father Louis Hassenfuss, said, well, now what are you going to do with yourselves? You've enjoyed this project so much. And after some discussion, it was his idea that they might create this tapestry to commemorate the bicentennial of the United States. So they started working on it. They actually, the small group went 2 women from the small group went door to door, asking women in the community if they were interested. And that's how they located 36 women who were interested. And the women came together on a weekly basis and then did additional work at home. They created panels that they ring the entire interior of the church. And the panels are framed by cactus rib. So not only is the stitching very wonderful, and each panel is different because each artist has a different expertise, if you will, or level of stitching. And the cactus rib just adds this phenomenal contrast. So the panels, they got together again as a group and decided what the panels should depict. So it's the history of the land in Villaneuva before anyone ever inhabited it, through all of the church and cultural events leading up to the time of the tapestry. It took them 2 years to complete. It is a very unique cultural, social form of art, religious, pardon me for not mentioning that, religious, obviously, very significant form of art. And we've done minor research. There's not very much of this in the United States. This particular tapestry is one of very, very few, a bit more in Europe. Part of our process is to bring in 2 young interns to teach them the process. We have the conservator and her colleague, and they will teach these 2 young interns. Melly has selected those people. I don't yet know who they are, but these would be young people informed and trained to keep the tapestry clean going forward. So it's another arm of the involvement of the community, and trying to keep this alive, the stitchery alive.
Our growing season is short. So if we want to grow a variety of things, we need to expand the growing season. That's one obvious value. Another value is it's an ecological value, as Brother Chrysostom said. We're closing the loops on our needs for food, on our recycling of food wastes and composting and integrating that with the chickens. So it's all a large, we're creating an ecology really in the monastery. Another big strength also will be the way in which when guests return, however that may happen, that it can be an environment where the community and guests work together and interact together. So we're actually creating and extending to the larger community. And you know, there was recently an experience where brothers went out to sell some of our products, some of our wool, some of our soap, some of our crafts, and took food. Curiously, people bought food for that environment. But we don't know how it will be a medium of relationship for us with the larger community as well. So it's a way of promoting who we are in the larger environment, and also promoting our identity as monks. As you know, Benedictine monks have been stewards of the land for 1,500 years. And we have a tradition to carry forward. I mean, we're going to do it differently than it was done in Europe in 800 AD, but we have to do it in a way that's appropriate to this place. So one of the things, you know, I have a fantasy about growing peaches in this greenhouse, starting apple trees in this greenhouse, making cider from the apples we grow. And so we can start things indoors and move them out, and we're going to experiment. It's going to be a really interesting time for us, I think, because it should awaken a lot of gifts in people in the community, and really promote in a new way who we are, because we're a very young community, actually. You wouldn't note it looking at these three guys, but we're actually young in the sense that the community's only been here for 50 years. So I think those are some pretty obvious strengths. And also, you know, the other thing too is that it's good for the land. You know, life begets life. So the more that we are interacting and generating life, the more life comes. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's birds or whether it's insects or whatever. You know, that's a very strong value that you need. We live in a desert, but that doesn't mean it has to stay a desert. If you know what I mean, that doesn't mean it doesn't generate life. So I think the values are all life values, running right through from the ecological to the social to the spiritual, because ultimately we find God in creation. So that's a pretty strong strength in our book, actually. And I know for those of us who do that work have that experience.
I know other people will be viewing this video and this recording, and we hope that, again, it's edifying and glorifying to God for everyone, but you definitely are making a difference in how we live and what we do here in the monastery. So thank you.
It would, oh my gosh, improve not only the aesthetics of the church, but the wall is also utilized on the other side that faces the courtyard and the public are bancos. And those bancos are used as seats. People sit on them for the functions, whatever that may be, in the middle of the plaza. So I know things haven't happened like Balloon Fiesta or our fiestas or the tree lighting, but it's also a, they utilize it for its functionality of seating, as well as the looks of the church. I mean, right now it makes it look like, you know, we're kind of not caring for our parish, but we do, because it's pretty run down looking. Structurally, it has the 4 arches, and that is actually part of the structure of the church, of the rectory. So that one east wall that I talk about in the actual application, the east wall is part of the rectory, and that is like buckled. So again, structurally, it needs to be repaired so it doesn't fall down. It's not just aesthetics, its function needs to be repaired because of the function of it. It was actually built in 1796, and it's one of the oldest surviving buildings in the city. Let's see. It is listed on the New Mexico State Register of Cultural Properties and on the National Register of Historic Places. And it's been in continual use for 200 years. And I wanted to add, we can't forget the convent, started by Sister Blondina. That's where our gift shop is located, and our museum is in the convent. Now, that was built in 1881 for the Sisters of Charity, and it is a 2-story adobe building, and it's named after her, Sister Blondina Segali, who actually helped supervise its construction. She was a woman way ahead of her time and up for sainthood. Another reason this needs to be reconstructed or renovated historically, because the wall goes up through the convent. So it's the perimeter of the convent as well. So we are going to be a historical visiting site when she becomes a saint. I can't stress enough how important, because how this is the first step of the stage, because then when she becomes a saint, the museum will be expanded and will go, apply for funding at that time. And I want to get this done so that's behind us, because the wall will last 20 years. And then we can focus on expanding the museum for her. I'm blessed to do this, and I was called here to do this. I truly think I'm in this ministry for a reason, not just the gift shop manager, but to see this through. This is my legacy. I want this built. I want this renovated. The museum will then be the next step. I will need lots of help, because I'm not a person with that type of background, but I've collected a lot of valuable information, and I'll work with someone that can help me lay it out. And then when we open, oh my gosh, it's going to be it's going to be wonderful.